Here's a few words about metabolizing our experience, both the experience that's happening in the present sense, but also, and in some ways, entirely dependent on our capacity to metabolize our past experiences, you know, everything that's happened to us in our lives that is in many ways still undigested, unmetabolized. What does that mean? It means that everything that we couldn't face, let's just talk about the past, everything that we couldn't face when we were younger, well, you know, to whatever degree, you know, and obviously the worse the experience, the more difficult it is to digest it in a way. And by digest it means to fully assimilate it and to release it, yeah, to let go of it, in effect. Digestion, absorption, elimination. You know, it's the basic functionality of our digestive system. And this is a great metaphor, of course. That's why I use it quite a lot. But what it means is that whatever's happened to us in the past that we haven't been able to process, digest, assimilate, deal with, in effect, somehow energetically remains within us. What we call the shadow, what we call the darkness, what we call held on to grievances. Everything that we couldn't meet, digest, allow, still remains, and we carry it around covertly, secretly, hiddenly, or even consciously. It doesn't really matter. We carry it around through life's experiences. It comes out at various times. It comes out in the triggers that we experience in life. It comes out in relationship. It comes out through our behavioral patterns. It comes out through addiction. It comes out in all these myriad ways. It comes out. And part of the task, in a way, of healing, but not just fixing, as I spoke to in a previous video, is to metabolize the past. That means that at some point, somehow, it has to be fully digested. And that means it has to be fully allowed to come in. And that means we have to somehow, as it were, almost eat it, as it were, digest it, as it were, assimilate it. You know, and that's the difficult thing, I think, for people, because depending on well, sometimes not even depending on the gravity of the, you know, that which we can't metabolize. You know, it could be wounding, it could be a small hurt, it could be just a perceived grievance, it could be rejection, it could be abuse, it could be wounding, it could be, you know, and it, you know, over time, it could be these things over time that causes a retraction of us. We retract from love, we retract from the innocence that we are in many ways. And so we start to live life a little bit behind ourselves, is what I would describe it. And over time, you know, that gets bedded in. It gets bedded into our nervous system, to our body architecture, to our subtle energy body. And we build a life around our grievances. We build a life around our wounds. You know, taking care usually to, at least unconsciously, to attempt to avoid going to them. You know, we're very clever beings, and that which has hurt us most, we seek to avoid as best we can. and we avoid it, but life is intelligent, and we don't avoid it. You know, we can't avoid ourselves ultimately. We can try and avoid ourselves, but you know, the past comes up. It comes up in, as I just said, you know, in our experiences with the world and with other people, in relationship, in, you know, things that trigger us in the marketplace as we go about things. We're not independent of that, and we can't completely case ourselves in. We're not encased in stone, although some people try and encase themselves in stone. But for most of us, those wounds, you know, they're not buried so deep we can't touch them. They're buried deep enough, but then they come out, and they come out in inappropriate ways usually. And so the calling is to digest, metabolize, assimilate, and ultimately release back into consciousness those issues, those wounds, those grievances, those pains, those hurts, those insults, those rejections. And by doing that kind of work, if you like, what happens is that we become more and more present and more free, and more develop more capacity to be able then to metabolize the world as it comes in. And most of us aren't actually doing that. Most of us, the world is coming in, and it's actually meeting the old stuff. The world in the present moment comes in and meets the old stuff within us. So we're not actually meeting the world from a fresh, clear place of presence. We're meeting the world through our baggage, through our shadow, through our unmetabolized issues. And so we're not present to the world, which means that the world, you know, that comes in is also not being metabolized. Not only is the past not being metabolized, but the present is not being metabolized either. And that makes for a whole load of implications. It means we're in a dream a lot of the time. It means that actually what it means also is that we, you know, are in danger, or we easily develop digestive issues. You know, issues of bad elimination, you know, all sorts of gut issues, and ultimately, you know, can be a contributory factor to countless autoimmune issues, you know, because it's part of our immunity to be able to absorb, digest, absorb, and eliminate. But, you know, if you think about what leaky gut is, you know, for instance, you know, it's leaky energy. So we become leaky. It's quite easy to become leaky, or else we become rigid. Another gut issue, you know, is to become rigid, or to, you know, to be not very good at the initial process of digestion, which means we're not breaking up the experience that's coming in that we call food. We're not breaking it up. We're not breaking it down properly. And if we don't break it down properly, we can't absorb the nutrients from it properly. And if we can't absorb the nutrients from it properly, then we start to get depleted energetically and mentally and vibrationally, because we're not absorbing the goodness of not absorbing the truth of life into us. And if that's the case, then we can't release what's no longer needed that easily. So the repercussions of not being able to absorb the world are really in many ways quite big. And so it's like you know, we have to, on the path, if you like, consider this. You have to consider whether we're fully absorbed the issues of the past, the ancestral past, the karmic past. You know, whether we've really attended to that, and maybe there's more digestion that needs to happen. You know, we don't have to fixate on it, But it does have to be, you know, at some point dealt with so that it can be released back where it came from, and we can, you know, meet the present as whole as we possibly can, as fully as we possibly can. And you know, it's not just a mental thing, is it? You know, I haven't mentioned mind really. You know, this is a full organism experience that I'm talking about. It's not just emotional. It's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual, and it's physical. It's an entire organism bringing itself to bear on the experience of absorbing its experience and absorbing the past, opening up to be more full, you know, than we previously have been. Because it's, you know, you see it everywhere, is, you know, the attempt to not have to, or almost not wanting to absorb what happened because it's too painful. But the catch in that is, if we don't absorb what happened or what's happening, you know, because it's too painful, then we're stuck in it. We're really stuck in it. And so all the strategies that we have employed, you know, they no longer work, but we can't bring ourselves somehow to release, you know, what has hurt so much. So we hold on to it, but we don't want to hold on to it. We hold on to it, but it doesn't bring us any peace or any joy or any presence or any equanimity. So we end up kind of trapped in a block. And that doesn't work either. So it's like the invitation really is to start to really meet it and face it. Meet it, face it, release it. Meet it, face it, release it. Again and again and again. And to do the best that we can, and then to move on. And this way, over time, and kind of, you know, it gets easier and easier, or it gets deeper and deeper, I should say. Easier and easier is a bit of a setup, but it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So, you know, that's the invitation today, to metabolize, to seek to metabolize past experience and present experience. Bless you.